Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Hey Little Magpie using the Pinkfresh Studio range Lovely Blooms. Now I like this base paper from the start and it's called Good Things. So I've used rainbow papers before and I had an idea for this, and you know when you're not sure whether it's going to work, and I'm being a little bit timid there before I actually cut in to the paper, but using a scalpel and a glass mat I'm actually cutting the lower edge of each of the 4 bands. I keep calling it a rainbow, so we might as well go with that for what it is. And I'm just taking my time and I'm just making sure that it is cut through. I'm not taking it right to the edges. I'm just coming in, say, ½ centimetre or so, because I want the 12 by 12 paper to stay together. But I do want to be able to lift that edge. You saw me at the beginning, I placed a white rectangle on the corner. That's where I'm imagining my photo placement to be, because I have to have a bit of an idea, like my mind's eye, of what I'm doing before I can actually commit. So I brought in a piece of 12 by 12 paper that I'm going to think of putting behind. So the idea is, using the floral ephemera, I'm going to tuck in flowers of similar colours to the rainbow stripes. So pink flowers under the pink one, peach ones under the peach one. Well, they may need to be tweaked a little bit because some of the flowers are hidden, so I may need to take a pair of scissors to some of the ephemera, but that will come later on. I've decided to bring in my distress tool and just rough up the edges that I've cut. That actually hides how good or bad I cut them as well. So, and as I'm going to hide the join, it doesn't matter too much, but I'm just going to give them just a bit of a rough up with this tool. I'm trying to be gentle. I don't want to tear the paper particularly, so that's why I've got my hand between the layers to get that distressed. So I keep turning it round, so I do apologise. I've just took all the fluff off that I've distressed. And I'm going to bring back in the white paper to go behind it, and I'm going to actually stick the two together eventually. But I actually want to just bend up those rainbow stripes a little bit. So I'm going to stick down the bits that I don't want bent up, if that makes sense. It's easier to bend it when the other bits are stuck down. So using some double-sided tape, I'm being very careful where I put it. So I'm actually taping down the bit, the white bit next to each stripe. It will make more sense when I turn it back over, but I'm very aware of which bits I want to bend. So I'm going to just make sure that's stuck down, because when I do poke things through the gap, I want to be able to stick it to the white cardstock, the white paper on the other side. So I am just taking my time doing this, and I'm cutting out any bumps that have appeared in the double-sided tape, because I want it to lie perfectly flat, because I don't know which bits I'm going to be covering with embellishments and which bits I won't. So I'm just going to be sure that I'm happy with the taping, and then I'm going to just stick the cardstock over the top. In fact, it's a smaller piece. It's not quite 12 by 12, which is fine because it's covering the bit that I need, and I'm happy with that. And then I can actually bend these up to my heart's content, with knowing that the white bits in between each rainbow stripe is completely stuck down. So I'm going to come back in now with the floral ephemera and just see if I've got enough to populate each stripe, because I may need to be a little playful or cut some of the flowers out of something else. There aren't particularly anything of the really dark blue, but I'm going to mix the blues up a little bit. Loads of peach flowers, so that's going to be an easy stripe to sort. And I think I need some more pink. So I decide that actually I'm going to sew round each of the stripes with the sewing machine. It's very difficult to tell. I've used the colour that is complementary to the stripe. So don't worry about it, you'll see it later when you see the close-ups. I decided I was going to use a puffy phrase as my title, and that helped choose the photograph, because I wanted to use pink in that corner because that's the last stripe. So to choose a pink word, I chose love, and therefore that helped me pick the photograph, and it's of my son's wedding from last year. I've stuck with a black and white photo. I think that helps it stand out a little, but it fits perfectly well. But the idea is now, as I work out the flowers for the pink stripe, I'm very aware of where the photo's roughly going to be, if that makes sense. So just using a pair of small scissors, I'm going to look at each piece of floral ephemera see if I can cut it in such a way that I can use it in more than one place, or that I don't want don't want flowers hidden underneath the stripes particularly, so I want to find a way to make them work and to fill the gap. So for example, these big two roses that are peach, I'm going to cut the smaller flowers off because they would be hidden, and then I can use them further down with the leaves on the rest of the rainbow stripe. So when I saw this paper, I wanted to do something completely different to anything I'd ever done with a rainbow paper, as I would call it. And I don't even know quite why this idea came to me. It does feel a bit extravagant, using quite a lot of the floral ephemera, but actually I think when you see the final layout, I think it gives a really good overall effect. I actually don't use all of it on this layout, and I'm trying not to be wasteful by cutting pieces of it down, but I think it also looks really quite effective. So I'd really recommend it. So this is a paper from the 6x6 pad. There is a nice pink round flower there that I am going to fussy cut to add in on the pink line. I've also decided I'm going to back the title with vellum, which I cut out off camera, and I also use some paper. In fact, it's the other bit of the circle where I cut the pink flower out to back behind the photograph. So I'm just bringing in some other bits and pieces from the range just to see if there's anything else I want to add. There isn't too much more. I've got a couple of gaps in the darker rainbow stripes, so I am going to look, and I do trim down some extra bits to go in there. And I also want to add something around the photograph, and I've got a little journaling spot there that I'm going to tuck in and add a name and date to. So what I'm going to do is, using some foam pads, I'm going to start to think about sticking everything down. The idea is I want to stick the stems underneath the rainbow flat and then have the flowers raised on foam, just to give more dimension, just to make them more prominent. So I'm going to do a couple, but I won't be doing all of them on camera because that would be completely monotonous. But as you can see what I mean, I've stuck the stalk in with a bit of double-sided tape, and then I'm adding a bit of foam, just a small piece. That's why I'm cutting them up, to actually lift the flower like heads, so to speak. I do prefer to cut up my own foam pads rather than buy the smaller ones, because I just think then I can use them in bigger pieces, and I find them easier to take the backs off. So I know it makes a lot of mess. I'm standing up while I'm scrapping this, and you should see the floor below me, but I do keep tidying up, I promise. But they do transfer all over the house, particularly if I've got socks on. I don't know whether you noticed that they seem to stick to fabric, the backs from foam pads. So as you can see what I mean, I'm trying to fill all the gaps. I don't want them too close together coming out from underneath the strips. It's just meant to give the idea of like an abundance of flowers connected with the bouquet in the wedding photo, but you could also use something spring-like. So that's everything stuck down. I do come back in with some foam pads and put them underneath the raised edges of the rainbow strip, just to make them lift a little bit more. I also put them on the back of the vellum title because I want to actually tuck a leaf and flower by that as well, just to tie it in at the bottom there with the floral feel. So there's quite a bit of dimension to it in the end, but I think it really suits it because it's quite a simple design, but actually there's lots of elements to actually look at. So I'm just twiddling with these last few bits. I decide that I'm going to add the names and date on the journaling spot in pencil, just because I didn't want to use a black marker, or I've even got a grey journaling pen, but I felt maybe it was too dark. So the details do get added, but I do those off camera at the end. I then decide that maybe I'd like to add something around the photograph. So while I'm just finishing off sticking bits down, I go and see what I've got in my stash. And I come back with these heart stickers from Hey Little Magpie, and also there's a flare as well. I just feel the flare maybe is too big. So I decide that I'm actually just going to add a simple heart to the photograph. I'm just deciding that the journaling spot is definitely going to go on the right hand side of the photograph, so I will just stick that in between the layers. So that's the layout finished. Thank you so much for watching. Check out this range in the Hey Little Magpie shop. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you here again real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.